Aric Thorn had always believed the galaxy was loud enough to hide any secret, yet on the silent outpost of Valor 9, he felt something watching him long before he found the strange, glowing shard buried beneath the dust. He had arrived alone following a broken distress signal that repeated the same 3 seconds of static, but the deeper he walked into the ruins, the more he sensed a presence that did not belong to any human or machine. The outpost looked abandoned for years, rusted towers, shattered screens, and long corridors covered in sand, but the air felt charged with energy as if the place was holding its breath. When Aric reached the central chamber, his boots stopped on their own. In the middle of the floor lay a crystal shard pulsing like a heartbeat. Something inside him pushed him forward, not with force but with recognition, as if the shard knew him. The moment he touched it, a burst of light filled the room, and heat shot through his arm like fire chasing his veins. He staggered back, but the shard clung to his skin, melting into his flesh as if becoming part of him. A wave of sharp images flashed through his mind-massive wings, stretching across the sky, scales glowing like stars, a roar that shook mountains, and then everything went dark. When he woke, the chamber lights flickered back to life, and strange golden symbols now covered his forearms, shifting like living ink. Confused and shaken, Aric ran a quick scan on himself, but the device malfunctioned and sparked, unable to read whatever had changed inside him. He tried to calm his breathing, yet every sound around him seemed sharper, every shadow deeper, and every small vibration under his feet felt like a warning. Then the ground trembled, and a distant hum rose above the silence, the sound of approaching engines. Aric rushed outside and saw 3 dark ships descending from the clouds, their shape unmistakable. They belonged to the Void Dominion, a powerful faction known for hunting rare energy sources, and if they were here, it meant they had detected the shard's activation. Aric's heart pounded as he sprinted through the ruins toward his ship, but with every step the symbols on his arms glowed brighter, reacting to the danger. The world around him felt heavier, as though the air itself wanted to stop him, and he realized he was running not only from the Dominion, but from a destiny he did not understand. A sudden vision hit him, this time clearer than before, showing a giant dragon made of pure light sleeping inside a colossal ancient temple, waiting for someone to awaken it. The image disappeared as quickly as it came, leaving Aric breathless and unsure if it was a memory, a message, or something the shard forced into his mind. He reached his ship and launched into the sky seconds before the Dominion fighters opened fire, their lasers slicing through the air behind him. The impact shook the vessel, warning lights flashing everywhere, but Aric kept pushing forward, gripping the controls with a strength he never knew he had. The shard's energy surged again, guiding his hands, making him move faster than any pilot he had ever met. The Dominion ships followed relentlessly, their engines burning bright as they locked onto his trail. Aric sped toward orbit, the tension growing with every second, and as he broke free of the atmosphere, the stars stretched around him like silver threads. He glanced at the symbols on his arms, glowing brighter than ever, and for a moment he felt something inside him awaken, something powerful, ancient and waiting to break free. But there was no time to understand it. The Dominion fighters appeared behind him again, and Aric knew he had only one chance. He activated the hyper-jump drive, hoping it would hold despite the damage, and the ship trembled violently as the stars blurred into streaks of light. At the last moment, just before the jump completed, he saw the lead Dominion ship closing in, its cannons glowing as it prepared to fire. The sudden flash of light swallowed everything, leaving only a ringing silence as his ship vanished into hyperspace, carrying him toward a fate he could not escape. The ship burst out of hyperspace with a violent jolt, throwing Aric against the controls as alarms screamed across the cockpit. But he did not have time to steady himself because the strange symbols on his arms flared again, lighting up the cabin with a deep gold glow as if warning him that the danger had only begun. The stars settled into view, revealing a quiet region of space filled with drifting rocks and shimmering dust, but floating in the distance was something far more terrifying. The silhouette of a colossal ring-shaped construct that stretched like an ancient gate carved by giants. Aric felt the shard inside him pulse again, pulling him toward the structure, and despite the damage to his ship, it drifted forward as if caught in an invisible tide. He tried to override the controls, but the system refused to respond, almost as if the ship itself was obeying a command he could not hear. As he approached the massive ring, soft waves of energy rippled across its surface, illuminating strange patterns that looked familiar, almost like the symbols glowing on his forearms. The moment his ship crossed the ring's threshold, everything outside turned into a flood of white light, and Aric felt his consciousness stretch as though he was being pulled through a memory older than humanity. When the light faded, he found himself floating above a breathtaking planet wrapped in silver clouds, oceans of crystal blue water, and mountains that sparkled with energy. The shard inside him pulsed once again, but this time it felt calm, almost welcoming, as if he had arrived where he was always meant to be. His ship descended on its own toward a vast island shaped like a sleeping dragon, and Aric could hardly breathe when he saw the massive stone structures rising from its surface towers carved with ancient dragon wings, bridges shaped like tails, and a giant temple at its center that glowed faintly with a warm, golden light. As the ship landed gently on a platform, the hatch opened, and Aric stepped out into a quiet courtyard where soft winds carried a hum of energy that made his skin tingle. The entire place felt alive, but not in a threatening way. It felt like the world itself recognized him. He moved forward, drawn to the giant temple door that slowly slid open as he approached, revealing a long hallway filled with swirling light. Each step seemed to make the symbols on his arms shift and twist, glowing brighter as if linking with the temple around him. At the end of the hallway was a circular chamber filled with floating stones, each marked with ancient runes that spun gently around a glowing sphere suspended in mid-air. The shard inside Aric vibrated so strongly that he could feel the rhythm in his bones. He reached out, and the sphere reacted instantly, unraveling into streams of light that wrapped around him like flowing ribbons. Suddenly, Aric saw visions flash before his eyes, dragons soaring above stars, massive battles across forgotten galaxies, a great collapse that ended their era, and finally one last dragon sealing its own essence inside, a crystal shard leaving a message for the one who would carry its bloodline. When the visions faded, Aric understood the truth. The shard was not simply a relic. It was the heart of the last celestial dragon, and he was its chosen heir. Before he could absorb the enormity of that revelation, the entire temple shook violently as a deep rumble echoed through the chamber. The sphere of light collapsed back into itself, and the visions vanished. Aric rushed outside and felt his blood turn cold. The Void Dominion fleet had found him. Their ships tore through the clouds above, dropping dark shadows across the glowing landscape, and their lead warship opened its dock, releasing swarms of hunter drones toward the temple. Aric felt panic rising, but the shard pulsed powerfully, sending waves of heat through his arms and chest. A voice, calm, ancient, and filled with quiet strength, whispered inside his mind, "Awaken." Aric stepped onto the platform, and golden energy exploded around him, shaping itself into armor that wrapped across his chest and shoulders like dragon scales, while faint, transparent wings formed behind him, shimmering like starlight. He could feel power flowing through every part of his body, not wild or overwhelming, but steady and precise, like a force that had been waiting centuries to be used again. As the first wave of hunter drones descended, Aric raised his hand, and a burst of radiant energy shot forward, dissolving the drones in a single beam. The Dominion warship fired a massive blast toward the temple, but Aric launched himself into the air with a speed he had never imagined possible, his wings spreading wide as he soared upward to meet the attack. Energy spiraled from his movements, creating shockwaves that pushed back the incoming fire. He charged straight toward the warship, weaving through its barrage of lasers, and slammed into its hull with a force that sent glowing cracks across the metal. The ship lurched violently, engines flickering, and the Dominion commander's voice echoed over comms, filled with confusion and disbelief. Aric flew higher, gathering the energy coursing through him, and released it in a brilliant wave that expanded like a rising sun. The blast disabled the entire fleet, leaving them drifting helplessly above the shining planet. When the light faded, Aric descended slowly to the temple platform, his armor dimming, but his heart steady. He understood now that the galaxy would never be the same, and neither would he. He had become the true son of dragons, and his journey had only just begun.